This is episode 44, and since we just recently had our 10-day belting challenge in my private Facebook group, which has been going greatly, I want to give you a short summary of all the things that we talked about and the exercises and how it actually went. Welcome to Freya Singing Tips, the podcast. My name is Freya Casey, professional singer and vocal coach. I have been on stage my whole life, and I'm passionate about helping you discover the awesomeness in your own voice. Opera, musical theater, jazz, pop, folk, rock, I have done it all. And I want to give you golden nuggets of advice on how to be the master of your voice. When I created the 10-day belting challenge, I actually was hoping to help a lot of people that were, first of all, unclear about what belting means and how do you do this. But also I wanted to actually help people to prevent any damage to their vocal cords or just any unhealthy singing, because a lot of singers have been talking to me and saying, I always feel raspy, I always feel hoarse, and it hurts when I go up higher. What can I do about it? And I want to just talk about a few things that happened during the challenge that were common things that happened and that I also see in my studio all the time. And then also some things that I want to caution you about and also some things that I want to encourage you about. So the first thing that I noticed is that a lot of times, especially for women, it was very hard to distinguish whether they were in actually chest voice or head voice. Now, after I've actually established what belting means, and belting, of course, it doesn't only mean, is not only related to singing, but the term has been coined for popular music singing and means actually to belt up high and to sing very intense with authority, with a lot of meat in the tone, so to say, not going into your head voice. Usually you don't mean head voice and usually don't mean any light register. You usually talk about a chesty resonance when you talk about belting. So whenever you sing popular music, usually musical theater, soul, gospel, rock, any of that usually takes place a lot in chest voice, and you don't want to switch into head voice too soon, but you also don't want to have this heady quality. There's a difference. You don't want to sound like a classical singer, and you also, if you do go higher, you don't want to sound like a totally different person all of a sudden by switching registers suddenly, and the two registers don't even fit together. It needs to be kind of seamless. And a lot of people were confused about, okay, where does chest register end and where does head voice start and what is mixed register? I'm going to talk about this in this episode. Now let's talk about the chest voice first of all. That is the basis it's the foundation for the belt. If you want to belt up high, you need to know when you're in chest voice, and usually it is a good thing if you start in a speaking mode. So what I'm talking in right now is chesty, but when I go higher, I can also do chesty here. I can do chesty here, but I also can do chesty here. So you can use your chest register range to go quite low and to go quite high up. However, there is a limit. So when you go up higher, I go higher, I go higher. See how I have to switch into head voice? Instead of switching into head voice, what we want to do is stay in chest voice. But how do we do this without killing ourselves? There's a natural limit on how high you can actually go. Like if I go like this, I'm in chest voice, I'm in chest voice. So I start cracking up on the top. Of course, I don't want that to happen, and I want to be in control of my voice at all times. The way I do that is by actually not getting louder and louder and louder and heavier and heavier and heavier. You do get louder as you go up to a certain extent, and then you come to the limit to where you don't get louder and heavier, but you actually take it back a notch. So let me demonstrate. Instead of going, yeah, 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 yeah. Instead of going like that, you actually want to try to lean off the voice just a little bit like this. Chest voice, now I'm not getting heavier. And it was not head voice. It was not head voice, but chest voice. But I'm getting a lot leaner. I'm getting very focused, a very, very focused sound. And you get that focused sound by, first of all, having very good support. And second of all, while you have that good support, you control the airflow and let very little airflow through your vocal cords. I have talked about this before in another episode, but I wanted to go more into depth. Then as you go higher, the mixed register is kind of what bridges the gap between the two registers in the passaggio, in that passage where that break usually happens, to where you do have to transition into head voice. You don't want to be too heavy. You want to lean off. And then what you do, mix means you mix in some heady resonance, but you don't get full out into head voice. You mix in that resonance. So let me show you. More chesty resonance would be, this is more chesty resonance. So full out chest. If I mix in a little bit more heady resonance, it's more like, not so loud, but I'm getting off a little bit lighter here, which is really hard for me right now. This is very high. So, but you get a little bit, lean off those vocal cords here, but you don't get full into head voice. You see what I mean? Only very good support and very focused airflow is going to allow you to do that. And it takes a lot of training to have the exact degree of heaviness and lightness. You need to always feel like, how much heaviness can I still have on that pitch and how much lightness can I have on that pitch before it starts slipping into the other register or before it starts cracking up, which is the worst, of course. You don't want ever your voice to just slip away and crack. And that's the moment where you just don't have any control. You don't want that to happen. Now, another thing I noticed is that a lot of singers were confused about, okay, how high is it normal to belt? Like, how high do I get? And there was a discussion about, okay, what am I then? Am I a tenor? Am I a baritone? Am I a soprano? Like I talked before in the episode about the voice types, it's not so much about how high you can sing, but as a rule of thumb, you can pretty much say, as a woman with an average female voice, if you can get up to the C5 that is, without trying to get into head voice, that's pretty good. If you can do that, that's great. If you can go even higher, C sharp, D sharp, that's pretty high. Anything higher than D sharp, like an E or F, that is very high for belting out. Now, singers like Mariah Carey or Kelly Clarkson, they can sing very high without actually breaking into head voice. And like Kelly Clarkson, I think she does G and G sharp or something like that, which is totally crazy, which it does not mean you could ever do that. You can do a lot by training. I've realized in the past year, since I've been singing along a lot with my male voice students, and I'm trying to push my voice higher since they actually sing an octave lower, but I'm trying to stay in chest voice. Just the training alone, just doing it over and over and over again and training it and supporting has really helped me gain at least 4 or 5 semitones on the top just by training it. So don't underestimate the factor of training. It is a muscle and it does want to be trained. Otherwise, you will put too much pressure on it. You don't want to lean against the vocal cords. And if you feel any hoarseness and any roughness, or you are just getting raspy, then that's usually a sign that you are leaning against the vocal cords too much. There's too much air pressure coming against them. You're putting too much air through. And you're not focused enough in your sound. So you want to keep your sound very, very focused. You want to support it from your support down there, from the bottom, from your core. That is so important. Otherwise, you will be raspy and you will push it too much. And then it's no fun because first of all, it hurts. And second of all, it doesn't sound good. And then third of all, of course, it's just not healthy for your voice. That's just plain and simple. If you want to have healthy belting, you're gonna back off, but don't get into head voice. For all the singers that are not certain about, am I in chest voice or not? I would be suspicious if you can get higher very easily. So that is usually a good sign. Try it out. Try to do an exercise and then go higher and higher and higher. And if you find it not being very hard, getting higher and higher and higher, that's usually a sign then you probably are not in chest register, because you would have to switch and you would feel a break if you are really in chest register. You would feel that you come to a limit to that technique, to that approach, and then you would have to switch into the other register. As a guy, usually if you are a lower voice type, you probably can go to maybe about E or F4. And if you are a tenor, you probably may even be going to an A or B or B flat. That is very high. That is opera tenor range. But if you are a high tenor, you may be able to go there. But again, try to go higher and higher and higher to go to that limit. And if it gets too easy, then usually probably that's a sign that you are not really in that chesty resonance anymore, that you are slipped, you have slipped into falsetto or head voice. It depends on what sound you want. Usually in popular music, you don't want too much of that heady resonance. You just don't. Even when you sing rock and you do get into head voice, you don't want that heady resonance. You want to have more of that very thick color. It is just thicker because more mass of your vocal cords actually vibrates than when you're full out in head voice. And it's a different position in your pharynx, and it's a different coloring. So that's what I wanted to bring out. And another rule is, anytime you start your belting exercises, it's very important that you start out very warmed up, and warmed up through all registers. Chest voice, head voice, low and high. Always warm up with full range. It's like an athlete. Stretch it out, stretch it out, stretch it out. And then also what you want to do, you want to actually really start the exercises to where you start on a speaking pitch level. Like for me, it would be kind of like, here, you see where I'm speaking about these pitches here. This is where I'm speaking. Now, when I get a little bit higher and a little bit louder, I'm speaking about here. This is about my speaking range. And I find that the approach via the speaking range makes it a lot easier for you to feel a natural placement. And that's very important to me, that you keep a natural placement to where you don't push your larynx in any direction in a very weird way. You don't want to sound like this. I sound high. It doesn't sound nice, and it's not natural, and it's going to strain you very quickly. So you want to keep that natural placement, and that is usually achieved if you go from a speaking pitch level. So even if you go higher when you speak, you go like, oh my God. Yeah, I totally love it. See, it is still speaking, but I'm in my natural voice. I'm not pushing anything around in my throat. I'm keeping an open throat. Everything else is relaxed. So I'm here. Here is my natural sound. And even if I get higher, this is my natural sound. Hello, hello, hello. Try it out like that. And I have found these exercises to be the most useful for the past few years in my studio when I teach my students. These have worked so efficiently. Trying to go from a speaking perspective and then slowing it down, making the pitches longer and longer and longer to where you find full control. But you have that placement as it is when you naturally speak out or even shout out when you go higher. So those are a few basic principles about belting to where you can stay healthy. And these are some of the common problems that happen. And what the cool thing about the belting challenge in my Facebook group was just that everybody realized that everybody has the same type of problems. It's not like, oh, I just can't do it and everybody else can. No, everybody's kind of in the same boat, and that is very good to know. You're not weird if you can't belt up high, because it is not a very natural thing and you don't really think about it, because from an early age on, we are usually taught to sing in a certain way. But that hinders us a lot to have that natural placement to where we're not constricted and we don't get tight and tense and, push too much. that's why I wanted to do this, to show you that we all have those problems. It's never hopeless. It is sometimes much easier and simpler than you think going from that speaking approach. It is a lot more simple than you may think it is. Okay, that's it for today, for the lesson. If you have any comments, I would love to hear from you. You could either comment in my Facebook group and, continue the discussion there. You just go to Facebook and search for Master Your Voice, the group. You will find it there. We're coming up to 600 group members now. That is great. They are awesome singers. They give each other advice, and you will always have someone who has something to say to, if you have a problem. And of course, I'm in there too. And we do fun stuff there. We share a lot of stuff. Real, meaty, getting really into the meat of things. It's not surface. We usually get pretty deep into the technical things. And also mental problems. If you have any mindset issues, or, you're nervous, or you think you're not good, we talk about all that. You can be vulnerable in that group. One last announcement. What I did is, to my participants of the 10-day belting challenge in my Facebook group, I made a special offer. Since I do have my 12-week Masterclass for Singers program, it's an online Masterclass program that goes on for 12 weeks, and you will get great value because every week we have a 60-minute session with a small group. It's 8 people, and it does not matter where you're from. It doesn't matter your work schedule. We probably will find a time where we all can meet. We use Doodle. We do a weekly schedule thing, and then we usually find a time where everybody's available. So we meet once a week, depending on what time you are, available, at our time that we agree on. And then also you get a one-time 60-minute coaching session with me, to where I can really go into depth. Now, a lot of people have been asking me about, can you help me with my singing? And I'm having problems. I would so love to help everybody. And I am trying to help everybody by putting out 3 YouTube videos every week, by putting out this podcast episode every week, by doing on Thursdays, I have a live show now, which I don't think I have announced that on the podcast, every Thursday at 5:00 p.m. Central European Time, which is 11 a.m. Eastern Time in the US, Eastern Standard Time. I go live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Periscope, which of course I've had some technical issues there lately. But this is a new show. It's called Master Your Voice, and I go live, and you can jump in there, hop on, ask any of your questions. So I get all these ways for you to communicate with me and my Facebook group for free. It's all for free. I'm putting this content out there because I want to help you. However, I cannot help everybody one-on-one, and I've been getting a lot of emails and Facebook messages about, you wanting me to help you, and I want to help you. However, my time is very limited. I just can't any longer just really answer everybody. And if you send me videos, I love it, but I just can't possibly do it, and I can't keep up with it anymore. So I kind of made it a rule now that if you're in the group, you can have everybody else help you, and I will jump in there occasionally, but I cannot promise that I will help you one-on-one. That's why I created the Masterclass program and the one-on-one sessions with me. That's a way for you to really get into depth and to really get into the nitty-gritty and help me help you personally with your voice. So the Masterclass is normally $397 for 12 weeks. And this is only going to last through today. Today is the last day to where I'm going to offer a $50 discount. So if you apply by today, I will give you a $50 discount, which means the 12-week class is going to be $347. Don't worry if you go to the website, which I'm going to link up here. It's freyasingingtips.com/masterclass. It's still going to say $397. However, I know when you applied, so I will give you the discount whenever I send you the invoice. So that is a way to work with me. And if you think about it, if you take private voice lessons from a private vocal coach, a professional, that's going to cost you at least $100, $200 a month, just about $350 for 3 months. That is a really good deal. Not only are you going to get me as a coach, but you also have 7 colleagues. Usually we have 8 people in the group, and you have 7 other singers from all over the world. It doesn't matter if you're beginner or professional. You can all benefit. Everybody has something to add. You get all these other singers to interact with, to ask questions, and you get to be a teacher too, because you get to comment and critique everybody else. So by you becoming sort of a teacher to the others also, you learn a lot. You learn to listen differently and to prescribe how problems can be solved, which is going to help you in turn. I cannot tell you how much I've learned in my singing by just teaching others. That's amazing. All right, that's all for today. I wish you a wonderful week. If you want more singing tips, go to YouTube, search for Freya Casey, and you'll find 3 videos every week on there. I wish you a wonderful week. And don't forget, always keep a song in your heart and always keep on singing. Bye now.